What makes a great teacher?
In my view, while subject knowledge is the baseline, what truly distinguishes an elite educator is their perceptiveness. It's about having an almost uncanny knack for reading a student's unspoken cues, knowing exactly when to push for more and when to offer a bit of emotional scaffolding. For instance, a teacher who notices a student is coasting and sets a higher bar can change that student's entire academic trajectory. That said, you can't rely on intuition alone. A teacher still needs to be methodical in how they deliver the curriculum to ensure no one gets left behind.
How has teaching changed over the years?
The biggest shift has definitely been the move away from the sage on the stage model toward a more facilitative approach. Since information is now ubiquitous, the teacher's role has morphed from being a human encyclopedia into a guide who helps students filter and synthesize data. Instead of just lecturing, modern teachers often use collaborative projects to teach students how to think critically rather than just memorizing facts. However, there's a slight worry that by focusing so much on skills, we might be neglecting the foundational knowledge that students actually need to think deeply.
Should teachers be strict or friendly?
I think framing it as a choice between the two is a bit of a false dichotomy. The most effective classrooms are actually built on a foundation of warm demandingness, where there's a real interpersonal connection, but the standards are non-negotiable. If a teacher is too pally, students might lose focus, but if they're a draconian disciplinarian, it just shuts down the student's desire to participate. Ultimately, it comes down to consistency. Students can handle a strict teacher as long as they feel the rules are fair and transparent.
What role should technology play in education?
I see technology as a powerful catalyst, but it's definitely not a replacement for the human element. Digital tools are fantastic for providing bespoke learning paths, but an algorithm can't pick up on the nuance of a student's frustration or spark a spontaneous debate. An app might help with vocabulary drills, but it takes a skilled teacher to facilitate a discourse that makes those words actually mean something. On the flip side, we have to be careful that tech doesn't become a distraction or a way for schools to cut corners on actual instruction.
Why do some students prefer certain teachers?
Usually, it comes down to whether the student feels validated as an individual rather than just being a name on a register. We naturally gravitate toward people who make us feel capable, and a teacher who uses a bit of humor or anecdotal evidence makes the grind of learning feel much more human. A student might hate math but love their math teacher because that teacher makes the classroom feel like a psychologically safe place to mess up. Mind you, popularity isn't everything. Sometimes the teachers we prefer at the time aren't the ones who actually pushed us the hardest to improve.
How can schools attract and retain good teachers?
While competitive pay is the starting point, the real deal breaker for most top-tier teachers is professional autonomy. Highly skilled people want the freedom to be creative in their craft, and they often burn out when they're bogged down by bureaucratic red tape or forced to follow a rigid script. A school that trusts its staff to innovate usually has much higher morale than one that micromanages every minute of the day. That being said, autonomy needs to be backed up by robust support, or else teachers end up feeling isolated and overwhelmed.